and welcome to another 60 minutes of fun and feisty debate, courtesy of us, loose women. And joining me now to swallow today, it's Frankie Bridge, Sunita and Jane Moore. Coming up today...
So macho, he's gotta be so macho. He's gotta be big and strong, enough to turn me on.
80s icon Sunita tells us how BFF Simon Cowell predicted she had COVID, why she's sad to see the X Factor go, and her new role as a musical matriarch. And Life Before Loose is back. Oh, I just love that. And this time, it's our Frankie's turn. From reaching stardom at 7 years old, the ups and the downs of life in the Saturdays, through to becoming the woman, or the loose woman, she is today. You excited, Frankie? You didn't look it.
No, I was 12. I wasn't 7.
Oh, she was 12. She was 12. There you go. It's already going perfectly.
I was like, wait, what happened?
You just look so cute and wholesome. Honestly, I'm so excited about this chat. It's going to be a really good one. But first, up today, we're talking about an apparent rise in the number of people who identify as, wait for it, demisexual. Jane's face is a picture.
What does that mean? Don't understand.
It essentially means that you're only physically attracted to someone if you have an emotional bond with them, if you know them well, if you care about them and feel a loyalty to them. See, as far as I'm concerned, that's just being a woman. That's how a woman loves. So, do you think? Do you have to have a connection to be able to...
100%. Yeah, definitely. I've just... You know what? I find anything intimate just so hard. Like, I remember when I was younger, just any time you was in a situation, like we all know when that first kiss is going to come, you know, that build up and that little moment. I would do literally anything to get out of it. I'd be like bobbing, weaving. If I felt like they were coming in, I'd be like, what's that down here? I would be making any excuse not to have that first kiss. And actually, one of my boyfriends, our first kiss ended up being a Spider-Man kiss, like upside down, because I think he was just so determined to go in there for that first kiss. And I'd avoided it for so long that we were upside down.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, you know, this, like, assuming we should all know, you know, the Spider-Man kiss.
I just find it so awkward. So I fully agree with that. And that's even when I have, like, that was a boyfriend. Like, that was a potential boyfriend, I suppose. But isn't that... So I have to be emotionally involved.
But that whole giving that a name, like, whatever, what was the name again?
Demisexual.
Demisexual, right? That to me is just like overthinking it. For me, that was a way of... When we were young, you know, you met somebody, and if you liked them and you had a bit of a connection, as they say in Love Island, then you would, you know, go to the cinema, and that'd be it. You'd be boyfriend and girlfriend. There'd be none of that. Is he going to ask me
that's what it was like, Frankie, in the old days.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think the younger generation just want what the older generation have established works.
Yeah.
You know, they've worked out that the women that they probably admire and the role models that they've all grown up watching have actually got this really good connection, emotional bond, and so they just want to fast forward and get to that. And why not? Because who doesn't want to actually get physical with someone that you've got a bond with, as opposed to someone you haven't got a bond with?
Sorry, I suppose in this day and age, because there is now... We weren't dealing with social media and all of that, so I suppose now, because of social media and because of online pornography and all that kind of stuff, you do have to make a declaration as to what it is that you want.
Well, it's very fast track. They do talking to, which I always thought that meant that they saw someone and were talking to them. But that's on the phone, and then just, you know, on text. And then it moves to, can you send me a nude? So maybe it's just the sped up thing, and maybe you're right. I think you are, Sunita. They're wanting a bit more of what we've got.
I think everything's changed. And also, a lot of people, like I know for myself, past experience when I was very young, I didn't know I was having a very brief relationship, let's just call it that for now, until the morning when I realised it wasn't going to continue. So there are different people who go into a relationship expecting different things. So if you're going to start off by saying, I'm a demisexual, hello, Nadia, I am a demisexual, and this is, so you know where I stand.
I'm not going to have sex with you until I know I really, really like you.
That's exactly
old-fashioned.
what it means.
It's the best way to go, kids, I'm telling you. Now, I've got a surprise for you. Well, if my Alexa doesn't spoil it, that is. That's what happened to one woman whose diary in her phone was linked up to her listening device and blurted out a reminder for a surprise anniversary trip she'd booked for her girlfriend. Did you get that? Did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
Just about.
Why did she do that? Why did she do
Because it's
that?
linked to her diary, so it's telling her what she's doing today. So I don't think she even had to ask it, did she?
But how frustrating when a surprise is spoiled.
No, but she did have to ask. She said, what am I doing tomorrow? And then Alexa said, you have a surprise for your girlfriend.
Don't get too caught up in this. Sunita.
Sorry. I mean, for me, she deserves it. I'm sorry. You asked for it. If you're going to ask Alexa, who you know is only going to say what you put in your diary, it's your own fault.
So are you a surprise spoiler?
You know what? I'm better at. I think I'm a better spoiler of surprises than a receiver of surprises.
Oh.
I have actually spoiled one surprise for two strangers, funnily enough, that I didn't know. We were queuing up for a taxi to go and watch Wimbledon, and there's a system there where you have to share taxis with strangers, and so you're in twos, and me and my friend Vicky got into a taxi with a girl and her father, and they got into the taxi, and they were having a little bit of chat about spoiling the surprise and don't spoil the surprise till we get there. And I could see they were flustered, and we had to pay £5 each per couple. And they were talking about who's going to get £5 out. And she was asking him, and he was like, I'll get it out when I'm ready. And she was like, and I just sort of wanted to diffuse
How awkward.
Awkward, right? So I said,
strange.
don't worry, my dad's the same. And she said, he's my husband. And I had to spend the rest of that journey.
God, I hope it wasn't a long journey.
Thank God it was awful. But I know I spoiled something for them that day.
You spoiled their relationship. I've always been quite rubbish at, like, I remember when I was a kid, I'm not so bad now, but when I was a kid, I was that child that would hand over a present and go, it's a purse. Here you go, it's a scarf, it's a whatever. It was so bad, yeah, so it just got to the point where my family were like, do not tell Frank. I'd be like, what have we got them? And they'd be like, we're not telling you. Because I would just ruin it. So now, I mean, I think I'm better now, but my mum is horrendous. You can't tell her anything. Anything you don't want to be said, you cannot tell my mum, because if you say to her, before you step into a room, remember, don't say about X. She'll walk in the room and go, blah, straight away.
She's like Linda Robson. You should get the two of them
She is,
together.
she's like Nana Linda.
Yeah.
She is.
Is that what you call her?
Yeah,
Does she know
Linda's
you
called
call
Baggy
her?
Mouth.
Baggy
The minute
Mouth.
you tell her something, it just comes straight out. Straight away. But my husband's exactly the same, Gary, so he doesn't mean to be, but I just don't tell him things because he's like your mum. And I remember we were going to my friend's house for lunch, and the following week it was her 50th birthday, and her boyfriend had organised a big surprise party. Oh, no. The whole way there in the cab, I'm going, don't tell her about the surprise. Don't tell her, no, I'm fine. He said, do I look like a mug? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, did the whole lunch, fine, no trouble at all. I thought, oh, thank God we got away with that. Just as we're leaving, she went, oh, it was so nice to see you. Well, I'll see you again soon. And he went, well, we'll see you next week at your 50th.
Oh, no. Not even just, I'll see you next week.
And it was just like this.
What? In the last couple of years, my mother-in-law has started taping the receipt of a present at Christmas the other way up, so the number's the other side, and then she writes on the receipt what the present is inside. No. Nanny died. Would you mind awfully stop doing that, because it's quite annoying? Anyway, coming up, Sunita tells us how a psychic Simon Cowell predicted a nasty bout of COVID and why she was chucked off a dating app for being a catfish. And the life before loose of our very own Frankie Bridge. There'll be cute snaps, classic clips, and loads of juicy stories. So we'll be back in a bit. She's very happy about it.
They called it puppy love.
Five Girls fast becoming one of the biggest pop groups in the UK. Give it up for the Saturdays.
Set, go. Pick up the pace and step on it. Rip up the place if you want it. Work, you know you gotta work. I got the goods and I want
on the show 12 years ago. Now, expect more clips like that in Frankie's Life Before Loose at 1 o'clock. But before any of that, think of the life you could have if you win our competition.
You've got another chance to win a whopping £90,000 in totally tax-free cash. That's 90 grand, which, if you win, will be yours to spend on whatever you like. Just think of the difference that would make to your life. Trips with the family, new cars, or even a hot tub in a luxury lodge. 90 grand, which is the same as £7,500 extra every month for an entire year. There's a guaranteed winner for every prize here at ITV, so someone has to win this huge wad of cash. In the last 12 months, we've made over 600 winners. We've given away over 27 cars, 18 holidays, and 14 gadget packages. That winning moment will happen for one lucky viewer, and they're guaranteed to be taking home £90,000 in tax-free cash. Every single penny is yours if you win. So the big question is, what are you waiting for? For another chance to win, go to the website. Entries cost £2. Text cash to 81119. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Call 09068 781119. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to DY30, PO Box 7558, Derby, DE10NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines closed tomorrow at 3 p.m. The best of luck.
Now, she's the 80s icon, famous for her disco moves, diva star and daring looks. Now, Sunita is combining all three of those for her brand new role. But before we hear all about that, it's just to remind ourselves of why we love the other Mrs. Cowell in Simon's life oh so much.
So macho, he's gotta be so macho. He's gotta be big and strong, enough to turn me on. He stays up all night, giving all his time to his GTO. I don't know why I hang around. I guess I love him so.
And Sunita joins us now. I have to say, not
Hi.
looking a day older than then.
Oh my gosh, you know what happens? Your eyes get worse as you get older, and I'm grateful.
No, you're looking fantastic, and you must be so excited because Chicago is going off on tour again, and you're a part of it.
Yeah. And I'm a part of it. I mean, it's so exciting because I walked in the rehearsals for the first day and everything looked so unfamiliar, and I realized it really has been 25 years. So it's huge for me, you know, and I was terrified, but everybody's been so nice, and the music is so familiar, and it's lovely to be out again. So I'm getting really excited now. It's going really well.
Now, you actually auditioned 25 years ago, didn't you, for Roxy? And so when you were contacted for this, you assumed you would be Roxy again, but that's not the case, right?
Yeah. The director, Stacey Corbin, she was like, you know, hi, babe, how are you? Listen, I wonder how you feel about doing Chicago. And I was like, me? Oh gosh, you know, Roxy, it's a lot of work. But I mean, I guess. I mean, if you think I could do it and I'm doing all this. And she's like, Sunita, babe, it's for mama. And I was like, oh. But it has been a long time. It has been a long time. So it's a lot more doable. I would have, you know, had a go at Roxy, though, to be honest. But I'm really happy to be playing mama because I never would have thought that they'd cast me in that role, because you think of like Queen Latifah and, you know, Brenda, they're like the big voices, Brenda Edwards, loose women, Sam Bailey, you know, big vocal sort of women. And I was sort of thinking, really, and me? But I think people will be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, God, I'm excited. What does it feel like, the thought of going back into theatre after the last... I mean, I went to the theatre first time last weekend and I just cried buckets all the way through it just because I was so excited to be back.
What did you see?
It was on the Fringe. It was called The Circle. It was a little play done by a group of young actors, and it was just so meaningful because the profession has suffered so, hasn't it?
Well, it's suffered so much and everyone works so hard. So I've gotten to see Anything Goes, which was amazing. Not Penelope Keith, what's her name? Felicity Kendall's in it. and Robert Lindsay. I mean, it's just amazing. And I also saw Singing in the Rain, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So the theatre's really, really coming back. And
Thank
that's,
God,
you know,
thank
it's a nice
God.
time to, yeah.
So,
And to be going on tour, we're going all over the country. So, you know, even people who don't think they like the theatre, have never been before, it's a real opportunity to sort of come and just come and experience it. And I'm sure you're going to have a good time.
So, Sunita, us three, not Frankie, obviously, are old enough to remember your pop records that we saw there, but also
We have a lot to see. No, you don't look it, but carry on.
a lot of the younger generation know you from your on the X Factor with the fronds, should we call them, the palm fronds. So, when did you discover that Simon was going to knock X Factor on the head, and what did you think about it?
Do you know what? I didn't really find out. And it's very naughty, actually. I'm glad you brought this up because we went for a walk before he went off to do America's Got Talent. And he was talking about all the changes and the new things he's doing. And I assumed it was what he was doing to X Factor because remember, I'm still on this promise that I'm going to be a judge on X Factor. Well, obviously, now it's not going to happen. So he didn't tell me. He just told me about all this new stuff that's going to be happening and how it's exciting and I can't wait to tell you. And then he jumped on a plane and took off. So I found out with everybody else.
You guys go back quite a long way, don't you, Sunita? And first of all, can I just clarify? I have been mistaken for your name so many times that this is almost like serendipitous that we should one day be on screen together like this. So lovely to meet you. But I was going to ask you about Simon, and I'm sorry. I
No, I was going to say, even on a dating app, someone asked me if I was on Loose Women, and I was like, no, you think it's the other two. Yeah, really? It's very confusing. So if you get any strange dates, they're actually from me.
Well, I will definitely be looking out for that. So I was speaking about Simon and I was thinking, you guys go back so far and you've got such a strong friendship. Isn't there some story about him being telepathic and guessing something was up with you when you weren't feeling too well?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that we have something because we normally speak quite frequently. So last year, just when the lockdown happened, I hadn't spoken to him for a while and I had caught COVID and I was thinking, there's no point calling him. There were all these awful reports of, you know, people dying and, you know, the emergency services being overloaded. And I just thought, you know, I just want to stay calm and I wanted to stay calm myself as well. And then he just called me out of the blue and he, instead of even saying hello, I answered the phone, you know, you've got it, haven't you? You've got it, haven't you?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, how did you know? And he said, I knew it. I can just tell when something's wrong with you. And I thought, I'm going to call her up and I bet she's got it. But we're kind of almost like twins, because you know how twins will say, oh, they got a bad feeling. And when they get a bad feeling, they know something's wrong with the other twin.
Yeah.
It's like that. And I'm exactly the same. Exactly the same. Although I have to say, Christmas last year, my mother and I, we flew to Barbados for the first time in a few years because I said, we've got to go and see him. You know, he's broken his back. It's so awful, you know, and I'm so worried about him. And we checked into our hotel and he texted and said, oh, you know, come out to meet on the beachfront. So we opened our sort of veranda doors to come out. And there he was on his jet ski, you know, standing up, sort of sailing by, you know, saluting. And I was like, bloody idiot. I mean, sorry, you know, but it, you know, yeah, very scary for us because we were so worried. Yeah. And then he was like, I'm perfectly fine, darling.
So talking of COVID, Sunita, and your mum you mentioned there, I know you've had the jab. Have you persuaded your mum to have it yet?
I still haven't. I'm double vaccinated now, and my mother still isn't. And it's a real thing, actually. But you know, even though my mother, she's still healthy and fit and everything, but she is another generation, and she does have these learned experiences that I have to, you know, be understanding of, and you know, and I hope that she will come around, but so far no. And she was actually very upset when I was having my vaccine. You know, she was praying, and half the church was praying for me, and you know, she's very, very frightened still. So
it's really tough. I feel your pain on that because I've got people very close to me as well that haven't had it, and I feel that. Listen, it's been so lovely having you here and having a little trip down memory lane. Now, Chicago opens the 11th of September in Glasgow at the King's Theatre, so don't miss it, folks. Have a great time, Sunita. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you guys. Take care.
Right, coming up next, it's our smash hit series, famous for lifting the lid on the lives of us loose women before we join the show. And today it's Frankie's turn. You can see from her face she's really, really excited. She entered the world of showbiz with this audition 20 years ago.
I should know, 'cause I loved and lost the day I let you go. This is
Well, welcome back to Loose Women. It's time for the latest in our look back at the lives and times of some of your favourite loose women. And today, she was a child star, a teen sensation, and now she's one of us. Frankie Bridge, this is your life before loose.
You like that?
Just keep smiling, Frankie.
They're the junior version of S Club 7. Do you have time to do any homework at all, Frankie?
Yeah, we have tutors that follow us around everywhere.
I should know.
Oh, that's giving me a nice warm feeling. So we start in East London on the 14th of January 1989. 1989, Jane, when parents Kevin and Viv welcomed a gorgeous baby girl into the world, little Francesca Sanford. Oh, adorable. What sort of childhood do you have? You're very close to your sister, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm really close to my sister. She's a few years older than me. So we were always close. I always say if I was born first, I probably wouldn't have been as nice as her. Like, she was so good. She used to include me in everything. You know, if her friends came round, I was allowed to join in and whatever. I don't think I'd have been like that. But yeah, I had, you know, a really nice upbringing. You know, my parents were always really busy working. They were both at home. It was quite like an equal household. My nan and granddad used to look after us a lot, who I loved. They were a really big influence on our lives when I was growing up. So yeah, like all before S Club Junior, it's just a very normal, whatever that is these days, upbringing, I suppose.
It's interesting, because so you were saying there about your sister including you and stuff, so that obviously made you quite confident. So were you quite sort of into the whole entertaining everybody from a young age?
Oh, God, yeah. My family have got videos of me dancing around the living room. So my sister and all our family friends used to go and watch Take That, like at Wembley and stuff like that, and I was never old enough to go. So they'd always bring home the VHS of the, you know, you could buy it at the end. And they'd bring it home and I'd put it on and turn off all the lights, and I had this, like, you know, those echoey microphones. And literally, when I watched back the videos, I'm like, I was so small when I was rolling around the floor, jumping off the sofa, you know, like, fully
it's meant to
loved
be.
it, yeah.
So at 7, you started proper dance classes and singing, and then at 9, you auditioned for Weekend Stage School, and you got in. And then what next?
So yeah, it was kind of like I just went to a local dance school from the age of 3 with my sister, and she was kind of there because her mates were there, and I took it quite seriously. I really loved it. And it wasn't until my dance teacher said to my mum and dad, "We really think you should send her to a stage school." My mum and dad were like, "Really? Like, she can't even sing, can she?" Like, didn't even know anything. And they were like, "Do you want to go?" And I said, I'd actually really love to go. And we were talking about, you know, Sylvia Young, Italia, the big ones in London. And they said, well, it's really expensive, so why don't you try out for the local one, like you said, that's just like one day at the weekend. And if you like that, when you're old enough to go to secondary school, we'll send you to audition for one of the ones in London. But you know, unbeknown to us, I ended up going for an audition, and at 12 got into S Club Junior, so I never ended up going.
And you were actually in a programme, a whole documentary, weren't you, called S Club The Search, which was the search to put this group together. I think we've got a little clip.
Oh, God.
I should know, 'cause I loved and lost the day I let you go.
I mean, the T-shirt says it all.
Yeah, the T-shirt.
And the thing is, you didn't actually know that was audition for a group.
Oh, look, is this you getting chosen? Look.
Yeah. So that's Rochelle Humes next to me
Oh,
there.
that's
There she is. And that's
Rochelle.
my mum and her mum in the background.
Oh,
and you can see them jumping on each other.
Excited that you got chosen.
Like Rochelle's mum and my mum are like, oh, they both got in.
Oh, amazing.
So then what happened next?
Oh, God, I don't even know. So, yeah, we literally, on a whim, convinced our parents the night before the auditions to let us go because it had been on TV. And we were like, oh, should we just give it a go? So we ended up getting through to the final. And once we got through, Simon Fuller, who created, like, the Spice Girls and S Club 7, came out and said, actually, the audition was to perform one night at Wembley Arena with S Club 7. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know what I was auditioning for, to be honest. And then he came out and said, we actually want to make you a pop group.
Is that at 12? You were 12 years old when that happened?
Yeah. So on the way home, we went home, got a McDonald's on the way back, and that was our celebration.
And that was S Club Juniors?
Yeah.
S Club
You
Juniors,
have no concept, obviously, at that age of quite where all of this was going to lead.
No, and I don't think our parents did either. You know, for them it was quite a new concept. Obviously, Jackson 5 and the Nolans and stuff, but that was quite a while before, and no one had really done that in more recent years. Yeah. And I think for my mum and dad, like, I look back now, and that was quite a big decision for them, you know, to kind of, they say it was either let you go and do it and kind of hand you over to these people, or say no and then you resent us for the rest of your life. So it was quite, you know, I always think with my kids, I'd find that a really difficult decision to make. So.
And I remember you saying, oh, that's you on GMTV, I think. I remember you saying to us once before that it was, you actually had an incredibly good time because there was no social media. Yeah. You didn't really have the pressure.
No, I had no idea, and this is what I always say, and this was like the biggest adjustment going from S Club Juniors to the Saturdays was that there was no social media, there was no online tabloids, and people weren't actually really allowed to write about us because we were so young. So I didn't know. If you didn't like my hair, you didn't like my outfit, you didn't like our signal,
how wonderful.
No one would know. So I was just kind of out there living my dream, you know, dancing and singing was all I wanted to do. Before that, all I'd thought I'd be is like in a cheese string advert or something, you know, that's the kind of stuff I was auditioning for.
And interesting, seeing Rochelle there, what a lot of people don't know is that you guys actually go way, way back, don't you?
Yeah, so Rochelle and I were at stage school together from the age of 9, and we were really close friends, and, you know, our families and stuff were really close. And like I said, the day before the audition, she was a bit like, oh, are you going? No, I'm not going. Are you going? No. Or should we just go? And we came out of dance school that day and said, Mum, will you take us? So they were like, all right, fine. So,
and you had like quite a jet life?
Jet set life. Yeah, I get it.
Well, you know, staying in gorgeous hotels, flying first class.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I look back, you know, it was all before downloads and stuff, and the music industry was a lot more affluent than it probably is now for some. And I look back now, and we always used to stay in this when we were in London, like this really posh hotel. And I think, oh my God, we'd go down for breakfast, like all 8 of us in this quiet, posh hotel that, you know, grown-ups have paid to be in. Yeah. And we're down there like, can I have 8 pancakes with like 10 tons?
So did you not do any school at all? Sorry, darling. Did you do any school at, must have had tutors, right?
Yeah, so we had tutors, so we legally had to do 15 hours a week. You know, sometimes we'd do more. So we'd do things like get up for SMTV in the morning at like, I don't know, early hours in the morning, and then come back and sit down and do our schoolwork. So, like you said, Nadia, I just had... No, but I was surrounded by such lovely people. Yeah. Like, they kept our team the same from beginning to end. Yeah. I'm still friends with all of them. And everyone looked out for us.
But when that stopped, I think then you went and got a job in a shop, didn't you?
Yeah.
That must have felt so weird to go from, as you say, that jet set lifestyle to suddenly be going, you know, hello, Jane, what size pants do you want, or whatever it was.
You know what? I know it sounds awful, but for me, it was like a real novelty, you know, to have like a normal job. It was, I really enjoyed it, but I found it really difficult because I was so used to working hard. And if I worked for people that didn't, you know, that would kind of sit around and not really bother doing anything, I found that really difficult. I didn't understand that. And I did enjoy it. I'd get a few snide comments from people. Oh, you used to be a pop star and now you're working in a shop. But it didn't really affect me because I enjoyed it.
You got to have a little smile on that one a while later, didn't you? Because you were standing in the seat in Zante having quite a rough-sounding holiday. When? What happened?
I got a phone call saying from our old record label from S Club Juniors to say that they're putting together a girl band and would I be interested in coming in and talking about it and seeing if I wanted to do it. And I was like, yeah, because all my friends, like, I was enjoying, you know, working a bit, hanging out with my mates, and then they all started applying for uni. And I was like, there's going to be no one here, and what am I going to do? And I thought about doing like a music management course or whatever. And so, yeah, I was like, of course I do. Yes, please. I'll be back from Zante as soon as possible. I'll see you there. So, yeah, I remember going for the meeting with them and 2 of my friends had travelled up with me. And I came out and they were like, so what was it about? What happened? And I was like, I think I'm in a girl band. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think that's what it's going to be.
Obviously, a phenomenally successful girl band. How did that success feel different to when you were much, much younger? How did Fame feel the second time around?
It was so different. And I think, you know, like for Rochelle and I, when we first started the Saturdays, for the other girls, they kind of would turn to Rosh and I because we kind of knew how it worked, I suppose. But even for us, we were learning as we were going because, like I said, there was no... I mean, at the beginning of the Saturday, social media wasn't as big a thing, but you had the more online tabloids, you know, there was more paparazzi and people writing stories about you and stuff like that. And there was more pressure, I suppose, because you're trying to earn a living as well, whereas S Club Juniors,
and you're a grown-up band, so there's a magnifying glass that they wouldn't put on children.
It was totally different. But yeah, at the beginning, like I said, we weren't as aware. But you never know how it's going to do. You know, you kind of have this thing. It was a year before we ever did anything. And, you know, we thought we were good to go. But when you go out into the world, you don't know what the reaction is going to be.
Well, it's just, I'm just loving hearing all this. Like, it's all fascinating. What we're going to do, we're going to leave it there for now, because there are quite a few ups and downs to come, to say the least, hey? But more from Frankie after this. Hello again. Now, part 2 of Frankie's Life Before Loose is coming up, but first, it's competition time.
You've got another chance to win a whopping £90,000 in totally tax-free cash. That's 90 grand, which, if you win, will be yours to spend on whatever you like. Just think of the difference that would make to your life. Trips with the family, new cars, or even a hot tub in a luxury lodge. 90 grand, which is the same as £7,500 extra every month for an entire year. There's a guaranteed winner for every prize here at ITV, so someone has to win this huge wad of cash. In the last 12 months, we've made over 600 winners. We've given away over 27 cars, 18 holidays, and 14 gadget packages. That winning moment will happen for one lucky viewer, and they're guaranteed to be taking home £90,000 in tax-free cash. Every single penny is yours if you win, and you can spend it however you want. So the big question is, what are you waiting for? For another chance to win, go to the website. Entries cost £2. Text CASH to 81119. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Call 09068 781119. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to DY30, PO Box 7558, Derby, DE10NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close this Friday at 3 p.m. The best of luck.
Time for the second part of Frankie's life story so far. Right, so Frankie, 2011, the Saturdays were at the very height of their success. To the outside world, everything must have just looked so fantastic for you. But you were really struggling, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been battling for a really long time with depression and anxiety kind of behind closed doors. Like, at that point, the girls didn't even really know anything. Poor Wayne was having to deal with it when I got home all the time. And it kind of came to a head when we went to a gig in Dublin and we'd flown in and we got to our hotel and we had a bit of time before we went. And I don't know why, but I just needed to be in the dark. So I just shut all the curtains. I just got in bed. I just didn't want to be anywhere else. And I think my room was connected to Molly's. And Molly came through, because us two would always get like room service together or whatever. And she came through and I was just sobbing uncontrollably. And it was the first time any of them had seen me in that state. And
had you been like that many times but just kept it secret? Or
yeah, I just couldn't hide it anymore. So she came and sat with me and I managed to pull myself together and I did do the show. And there's a picture actually that I came across when I was writing my book last, and she's kind of got her arm around me and we just look like two really good friends, you know, that we are, but she was physically basically holding me up, basically carrying me to and from the show. And I managed to do it, but it was after that then I just couldn't hold it together anymore. I was just, I didn't want to be here anymore. I felt like I'd become Frankie from the Saturdays, and then there was this other Frankie, and I'd become two different people.
So this was around the time of the video, The Heart Takes Over, but you actually managed to do the video.
Yeah, so Wayne, bless him, just didn't know what to do anymore. And he called my GP and was like, you have to come round, I don't know what to do. And she came to see me, spoke to Wayne, spoke to me, and then she rang my manager and rang a psychiatrist, and they were like, the only way that we're going to be able to help you is to take you away from the situation, because there was never a good time to step away. You know, your schedule's so busy. I didn't want to let the girls down. I didn't want to let our fans down. There was not going to be a time where I was happy to step away. So they booked me into a hospital, and but we'd already booked this video for My Heart Takes Over in Iceland. And so I'd kind of mentally prepared myself, right, this is going to be my last job. I'll go, I'll do this, and then I'll come back and I'll go to the hospital. And only my manager knew at that point. The girls didn't know what was going to happen. And I kind of look at that video and I just feel like I just look dead behind the eyes. You know, luckily it was a sad video, so I didn't have to kind of be joyful, but I looked so slim. And
but you were really hanging on there, weren't you, to get, and it was even delayed.
Yeah, so the video was a day, and there was something wrong with the weather, and we were possibly going to have to stay for 2 days, and just this anxiety hit me on him. I remember just looking at my manager, like, begging him, please, I can't. I've mentally prepared myself for this one day. And I think even on the way back, we got pictured at the airport, and like Wayne came to pick me up, and we just looked like a happy couple. And actually both of us were aware that I was leaving and going straight to this hospital. So
was that scary?
It was scary. Funnily enough, we got like some lunch on the way there. And I think by this point, I was so exhausted, and I didn't feel like I was longer able to kind of keep myself alive. I wasn't able to keep myself well. And I think I was just so ready to kind of surrender myself and hand myself over to anyone that was going to be able to do that for me. So it was scary, and I kind of had this padded cell idea in my head, and obviously it was nothing like that. And actually I just slept for the first, like, 2 weeks.
It must be so hard for Wayne as well, because, you know, for the person that loves you to see you like that and feel that they can't do anything.
We'd only been together, I think, maybe a year, maybe not even that. And he lost a lot of weight around that time where he was so stressed, but I was lucky that he stayed. You know, we were so early on that he could have easily have been like, this is too much. And actually he tried to learn as much as possible through my doctors and everything. And it was actually being with him, this sounds so weird, but I was actually weirdly like in our shower at home, and I just remember thinking, I'm so happy. Like this, I have everything I want, and this is where I want to be. And I have a man that I love and who I'm in love with, yet fundamentally I'm unhappy. And it took me to have happiness to realise how unhappy I was, which I think for people that have never experienced it, is so hard to understand. Yeah. But that was just how I felt, and he was great, you know. And it still takes us, it's taken us years to kind of together figure that out, and for him to not take it personally, which I can imagine is really difficult.
And so then you got an opportunity to meet me.
Instantly come down in 2014. And everything was so much better.
And I met a very different Frankie to the one that she's just described, because Frankie and I were in that first lineup of petrified people, but she was such a strong...
And Strictly.
Yeah, on Strictly. None of us knew each other. We all came from different backgrounds and different walks of life. And I don't know whether we would have actually ever bumped into each other and become friends. No. But she was such a strong and sort of supportive sister. In fact, we are all still very much sisters, aren't we? I'm used to chatting to Frankie on a WhatsApp group with 6 of us all climbing on together, chatting. And she joined us, and she was such a breath of fresh air for me, because I didn't know her history about Saturdays. And I know Strictly meant a lot to you, because it was like a turning point for you, is that right?
And you had no idea she'd been struggling.
I had no idea.
It was weird seeing Sunny there before we came on, because that was basically like the start of Strictly. You know, you'd all see each other at the top of the stairs and then step on the stage.
Yeah, you're doing something on your own as you.
It was a big, like she said, it was a big turning point for me, because I literally, so we'd just done 2 months rehearsal for our Saturdays tour. I'd been on tour for a month with the girls, and this was my first thing ever on my own. For like years, you know, I'd been in 2 bands, and I was so terrified, but dancing is like my main passion. That's my main part of performing. And as a family, we've always watched Strictly. My grandparents love ballroom dancing. So for me, it was like a dream to be on there. And I just loved it. And it did really help with my confidence. And Kevin was great, and we made amazing friends. And I'm glad I've done it, but I'm always like, I'm gutted I've done it, because I can't ever do it again.
And at that point, you had, was it Parker you had at that point?
Yeah, so Wayne and I had got married that year, so we'd not even been married that long. And Parker turned 1 while I was on the show, and then by the end of the show, I was pregnant with Carter. So it was a very busy time.
Wow, that's a lot. But so much. What a great career and a great life so far. But I think what's so amazing is that you speak so openly about your mental health struggles, because to the rest of the world, that's what's so important. The rest of the world can just look like everything's just dandy, and that's the case for so many people.
Yeah, and I think that's why I've always found it so important to talk about it. You know, I did have everything I thought I wanted and needed, and I had a life that a lot of people long for, I suppose, and yet I was still mentally unwell, and that's... You know, people don't understand that.
Being able to take that step forward, because I think it's very easy to follow after somebody said the first opening moment of how mental health can affect them. But I think you've really stood out as somebody that people didn't expect to hear this story from, and that they are hearing it from.
And you know what? I know
and she still looks 12.
Yeah. And I know I speak for all the other loose women. It's just so wonderful having you as a loose woman.
Thank you, I love it. You know, the amount of times I've been on here as a guest, I used to be terrified of you, Jane.
I know.
You always used to ask the scary, the scary questions, and now I love her.
Yeah, and we love you. So thank you. That was Frankie's Life Before Loose. That's it for today. Whatever you're up to this afternoon, have a good one. Ta-ra.